All right, let's talk about something that hits home for every single one of us: money. More specifically, where our money actually goes. Stick with me, and by the end of this, you're going to have a super simple, clear roadmap to feel way more in control of your finances. You know the feeling, right? Paycheck comes in, you pay some bills, you live your life, and then bam, you're looking at your bank account thinking, wait, where did it all go? If that sounds even a little bit familiar, you're in the right place. We're about to demystify all of it. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to sort your spending. From there, we'll build a simple action plan and even take a peek into the future to see how tech is making all this way, way easier. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. What is an expense really? It sounds almost too simple to ask, but getting a crystal clear definition is the foundation for everything else. Whoa, okay, that's a mouthful. If you ask an accountant, you get this. It's full of jargon like outflows, depletions, and equity. It sounds incredibly complicated, I know, but don't worry, we are not doing accounting homework today. Let's translate that into plain English. There we go. That's it. Your morning coffee? That's an expense. Your rent, your Netflix subscription, that new pair of sneakers, it's all just money going out in exchange for something you want or need. See? So much simpler. Okay, so we know what an expense is. Now here's where the real power comes in: sorting them. Think of this as creating the blueprint that shows you the hidden story of where your money actually goes. So you can pretty much think of your expenses in two main buckets. First up, you've got your fixed expenses. These are the predictable ones, the ones you know are coming every single month, like your rent or a car payment. Then you have the tricky ones, variable expenses. These are the costs that are always changing: your grocery bill, how much you spend on gas, or that last-minute dinner with friends. Just knowing the difference between these two is a huge first step. And you know, we can slice it up even more. Just take a second and think about your own spending. Where does most of it go? Is it transportation? Is it entertainment? Sometimes just seeing your life laid out in categories like this can be a total eye-opener. Now, hang with me here. We're going to borrow an idea from the business world. And you might be asking, why? Well, because thinking about your personal finances a little bit like a business can be a surprisingly powerful mindset shift. It just adds another useful layer to how we see things. Businesses basically have two main types. There are operational expenses, or OPEX, which are all the day-to-day costs just to keep the lights on. You know, things like salaries and rent. And then there are capital expenses, or CapEx. These are the big long-term investments meant to grow the business, like buying a new building. So for you, think of it this way. OPEX is your daily cost of living, while CapEx is like buying a house or investing in a degree, big moves that build your future. All right, enough with the theory. We've defined our expenses, we've sorted them. Now for the big question. How do we actually use all this information to save some money? Let's get practical. You know, if you need a simple framework to get started, the 70-20-10 rule is fantastic. The whole idea is that you aim to use about 70% of your take-home pay for all your expenses. Put a solid 20% into savings, and then use the last 10% for things like giving or charity. It's not some strict unbreakable law, but it's a really powerful guideline to shoot for. So how do you actually squeeze your spending into that 70%? It all starts with a plan. First, know your why. What are you saving for? A house? To pay off debt? Then you gotta create a budget that actually works for your real life, not some fantasy version. From there, look for the easy wins. Cut back a bit on eating out. Go through and cancel those subscriptions you totally forgot about. And try the 24-hour rule before any impulse buys. And hey, there are so many other small changes that can add up to huge savings. Seriously, always shop with a list and actually stick to it. Switch your light bulbs. Cook at home more often. These things might feel tiny, but trust me, when you put them all together, they can make a massive difference in your monthly budget. All right, for our last section, let's look to the horizon. Because that boring, tedious task of tracking every single dollar you spend, yeah, that's changing. And it's changing fast. Technology is really stepping up to do the heavy lifting for us. This quote right here, it absolutely nails the future. We're shifting from being the doers to being the reviewers. The AI does all the tedious work, and we just give it a quick check. This is a huge, fundamental shift that's going to free up so much of our time and mental space. So, what does this future actually look like in real life? Imagine just snapping a picture of a receipt and you're done. That's it. Automation won't be some extra feature.
It's just going to be how things work. Everything will be designed for your phone first, and the whole goal is just speed and clarity, turning minutes of annoying work into seconds. And the ultimate endgame of all this cool new tech? It's to make the very idea of doing your expenses feel like a thing of the past. It'll just happen, humming along quietly in the background, giving you way more time and energy to focus on your big financial goals instead of all that paperwork. Wow, we've covered a ton of ground, from simple definitions to action plans and a look at the future. But you know what? Real progress always starts with just one step. So think about it. What's the one small, totally manageable change you can make today to get just a little bit closer to your goals? Thanks for tuning in.